I'm sure you know Ness from Smash Bros, and you probably know he's from a game called EarthBound, a once obscure SNES title that's been released numerous times over the years. Whether or not you've played this game is an entirely different story. EarthBound is many things to many people, from sentimental to funny to thought-provoking, but to me, EarthBound is one of Nintendo's most unsettling games. When the game decides to get serious, it makes me question how it was even approved by Nintendo to begin with. Today, I'm going to be diving deep into the physical and psychological horrors of EarthBound. Let's start with the basics. A meteor falls near Ness's house, so he goes out to investigate it. A bee emerges from the meteor, claiming to be from 10 years in the future. The bee tells Ness he is prophesied to join a girl and 2 other boys in order to defeat Giygas, the ultimate evil that destroyed the world in the future. As to who or what Giygas is at this point is unknown, but we can see his influence at the start of the game when common animals like crows and dogs become vicious, forcing Ness to put them down. At the end of the night, Ness escorts his neighbors Porky and Picky home. Their father yells at them to go upstairs, and Ness overhears them getting beaten for coming home so late. A small detail that most players will miss is that you can actually visit one of Ness's neighbors when it becomes morning. He recently dug up an ominous statue underneath his home. This statue would be bought by a man named Carpainter, but for the sake of my sanity, I'm going to call him Carpenter. The statue corrupts the entire town of Happy Happy into a cult worshipping the color blue. Most disturbing, Porky also kidnapped a young girl named Paula, which the cult intended on sacrificing. Very strangely, Carpenter gave Porky a high-ranking position in the cult. Ness is able to defeat Carpenter, free Paula, and restore peace to the village, but Porky makes it known he wasn't corrupted by the statue to begin with. And this begs the question, is Porky under the direct influence of Giygas, or has he always had a grudge against Ness? Porky is presented as a little shit at the beginning of the game, and his family hates Ness, so the true answer is open to interpretation. The statue is then stolen by the mayor of Fourside. When Ness, Paula, and their new friend Jeff reach Fourside, they find the statue hidden away inside of a bar. The statue transports them to an alternate version of Fourside called Moonside, a trippy, disorienting, and maze-like reality where no means yes, and people speak in broken English, likely because they're in a trance. This area of the game in particular always stood out to me because of how ominous it is. The path forward is not obvious and it's very easy to become lost. And as the player, you're alone on this one. None of the NPCs are in control of their faculties, so you will not be receiving any guidance. You're stuck in this nightmare until you figure your way out. All the while, you're bombarded by enemies that make no sense. At the end of the path, the statue is destroyed once and for all, and peace is restored again. But Giygas is still out there, and there's still one more friend left to meet. But before all that, the kids will be under the influence of hallucinogens 2 more times because who doesn't love underage kids being roofied in their Nintendo games? The final member of Ness's party is a samurai named Pooh. Yeah, it's canonically Pooh. Anywho, Pooh must receive the final test of his training in order to join up with Ness and his friends, so he scales a mountain and begins meditating. What happens next is truly one of the most disturbing segments I've ever experienced in a game to date, and I've played enough games for multiple lifetimes, so if you're someone who's squeamish, you might want to skip to this timestamp. As Pooh meditates, a spirit approaches him. Just so you can experience this if you haven't, I'll go through the following dialogue. Prince Pooh, I am the spirit of your ancient lineage. To complete your trial, I am going to break your legs. You will lose the use of them. Do you accept this? So, Prince Pooh, you cannot walk as your legs are broken. Next, I will tear your arms off. I shall then take your arms and feed them to the crows. The taking of your arms. Do you accept this? Ah, Prince Pooh. Without legs and arms, you can only lie there. Now I'll cut your ears off. You do not mind my taking your hearing away, do you? Do you accept this? So, Prince Pooh. No legs, no arms, and no sound. By floating words through the air, I must ask you, do you care if I take your eyes? Do you want to live in eternal darkness? I shall steal your sight. Do you accept this? So, Prince Pooh, now I can only communicate directly with your mind. Your mind is all you have left. In the end, I will take your mind. Though you probably don't want to allow that, do you? So you can't answer. You can't even move. Are you sad? Are you lonely? If you lose your mind, you also lose any feelings of sadness. Do you accept this? I will take your mind, Prince Pooh. Know that I will possess it. Do I even have to get into how screwed up this entire sequence is? Not only did Pooh undergo psychological torture, but he felt everything in the spirit plane. We know this because you can see his health go down throughout the process. To say I was shocked when I first experienced this is an understatement, but what this segment truly entails is a glimpse into Japanese philosophy. The needs of the group are valued over the needs of the individual. What a person brings to the table is more valuable over who they are as an individual, and they must be willing to sacrifice everything if it benefits the needs of the group. This line of thinking was on display in a literal sense during the tragedies of World War II, but has since taken on a more spiritual meaning in modern times given how people take pride in being overworked. I'm sorry to get sidetracked. It's just both disturbing and respectable that this philosophical view of Japanese culture was displayed to the world in EarthBound. We aren't told about it, but as the player, we get to experience it during this portion of the game. On the topic of psychological horror, one other character must face his demons, that being Ness, who towards the end of the game enters a reality based on his own mind called Magicant. Magicant is home to many of Ness's previous memories, including people, locations, and even snowmen he has built throughout his entire life. This is one of the strangest locations in the game. Magicant is also where Ness meets the Flying Men, bird-like creatures who are the embodiment of his courage. They willingly sacrifice themselves in battle for Ness's safety. I also wanted to mention that in Magicant, Ness is completely naked in the Japanese version of the game for whatever reason. The deeper Ness travels in his mind, the more corrupted it becomes until he comes face to face with a being known as Ness's Nightmare, or in the Japanese version, Ness's Demon. In order to escape Magicant, Ness must come to peace with his own demons, and as a result, he wakes up with major stat increases, ready to take on Giygas. Magicant is my favorite section of EarthBound because it presents us with the scariest thing life has to offer, our own mind. Think about why we're always on our phone looking for stimulation, or why it's so difficult to meditate without thinking of something. It's because we are resistant to being alone with ourselves and our thoughts. It's one of the hardest and scariest things we can do as humans, but those who do so are able to conquer their minds and come out stronger for it. There's a few sections of EarthBound I wanted to mention before moving on to the final part of this video. Firstly, at the beginning of the game, Ness is taken to the Onet police station after being caught trespassing. The cops then take turns fighting Ness in an unrelenting assault on an underage child. This section always made me feel bad for Ness because these are supposed to be adults he looks up to, but instead, the developers of EarthBound provided a first-hand commentary on police brutality. Secondly, in the town of Threed, Ness and Paula are lured by a hooker into the back room of a hotel. They are then ambushed by multiple undead creatures and kidnapped, which causes Jeff to come to their aid. Finally, the Mr. Saturns are kidnapped from their village and held hostage as slaves in order to make honey for Master Belch, a living pile of puke. Yeah, this game is definitely weird, and it's the little dark moments sprinkled throughout the game that really adds to its charm. But without further ado, it's time to confront Giygas. With the help of the cute Mr. Saturns and the smart science people our heroes met along the way, a time machine is constructed. The plan is to travel back in time and strike Giygas during a more infantile stage of his life. The only problem is, the physical body cannot withstand time travel because... science! So Ness and his friends have each of their brains surgically removed and dumped into robots. They travel back in time and prepare to confront Giygas. This disgusting looking area is a direct pathway to Giygas and plays this music in the background. Upon reaching Giygas' cave, nothing is heard except an ominous ambiance and the clanking of robot footsteps until our heroes meet their journey's end. Porky appears before them, who for some reason now has a spider mech capable of time travel. He faces them in battle, and after being defeated, he taunts them. Ness and his friends will now be trapped in eternal damnation, consumed by Giygas for all eternity with no one to call for help. Porky then turns off the machine containing Giygas and time travels to the far future. Now face to face with Giygas, take a listen. Whatever Giygas isn't made clear. The game doesn't help to fill in the gaps either, as it literally states you cannot grasp the true form of Giygas throughout the battle. Giygas is the ultimate evil, a being so abstract that he is beyond human comprehension. Ness and his friends unleash all of their might, but their efforts are useless. That's when Paula has an epiphany. She can use her telepathy to pray. Paula prays to everyone they met on their journey, and Giygas cannot handle their combined might. Overwhelmed, Giygas is defeated, and peace is finally restored to the world of EarthBound. Hang on just a second. If you're not super familiar with EarthBound, you might have missed something. Notice the entrance to the cave Giygas is found in. It kinda looks like something, a woman might have, and I know that sounds weird, but just stay with me. Ness and his friends enter this cave and travel along a fleshy organ path until they reach Giygas, and it looks like there's an egg. Then we fight Giygas and see. In order to defeat Giygas, did we travel back in time and abort him? EarthBound is a colossal-sized game filled to the brim with so much care and detail. It might not be the most popular game in Nintendo's library, but the fans who love it absolutely adore it. And because of how impactful the game is to many who play it, EarthBound can be interpreted in a number of ways. The game is most famous for how weird and funny it is, but I wanted to highlight the often overlooked grim portions of the game and the messages they represent. For how humorous EarthBound can be,